All right, well, thanks for the attention and your attendance, everybody. This is a topic I'm really passionate about. It's kind of a follow-up to a talk that I gave in this room, I think in April of 2017. And since that time, I've had numerous people tell me, oh, that was really positive for me, and it really has affected me and changed how I live and how I understand metabolism. And I hope that I can also expand you guys' knowledge and share a topic that I'm really excited about. So yeah, the title of my talk is Shrink On, so that's my lecture series, given a bunch here. And then HIF is hypoxia-inducible factor. So this is the interaction of oxygen in your blood or with the chemistry of your body. And HOF is a fellow named Wim Hof, who's also known as the Iceman. And he has suggested this approach of building fitness in the body, and I think he's actually on the right track, so I'm going to talk about that. So I'll say a better you through positive mindset, intentional breathing, and cold exposure. So eat, drink, and be merry. So I didn't mention food in the title, but I am kind of giving a reprise of the fasting talk that I gave back in 2017 about being insulin sensitive. But maybe even more important than that is to have this positive mindset. How can we really be positive about ourselves and about the people around us, about what we're doing, and having that positive energy makes you feel better. And I think your brain can affect your body, and having a positive mindset really shouldn't be underestimated when you're thinking about your own personal health. So circulatory health and organ durability, I don't care how I look. I want to be around for my grandkids or my great-grandkids or that kind of thing. So, how can you run your body in a way that you're going to, have a long health span? It's not just survival, it's health. And so I think there's a lot of key recipe elements that I'm going to present on that topic. So eat to be insulin sensitive. So this insulin sensitivity is how your body responds to nutrition. Drink water and eat minerals for hydration and improved waste excretion. A big concentration gradient through your body to excrete waste, minimize that residence time of all of the atoms in your body. Right, the residence time of these molecules that make up your body is kind of how you really want more turnover. You want to be deleting damaged proteins and building yourself up with healthy new atoms, and allow the molecular machinery of your body to build you up and keep you strong and fit. Water is really crucial and central to that. I don't really talk about hydration a lot in the rest of the talk, but I have one slide on it. Okay, so cold exposure to increase circulation and increase metabolism. So exposing your body intermittently to cold can bring a lot of health benefit. It changes the type of fat cells in your body. It makes them more able to do thermogenesis, that is, make heat energy inside your body, and you can access the fat stores in your body better if you do this routine, intermittent and brief, although bracing maybe, cold exposure. Okay, breathe deeply to improve your mindset and circulation. So again, you're going back to the circulatory system and the health of your heart and your lungs, and by doing this intermittent hypoxia, where you temporarily and briefly change your blood chemistry, you can increase erythropoietin, which is the protein that stimulates new red blood cell production, and this can improve your athletic performance and organ durability and health and really intensity. I think there's a lot of broad benefits from this breathing exercises, and I don't think a lot of people would argue with me that meditation and breathing is a well-known approach for improving the functioning of your mind. So that's definitely a part of it. And then exercise. I think these intense exercises, building up your muscle mass, your strength, your circulation, and there's a connection back to your mindset. Have a mindset that says, hey, I'm worth investing in myself, and that part of that should include exercise. So then I'll give a summary of recommendations with 2 asterisks. So, I'm not a doctor, your health plan is yours, but, I think these are some interesting things that you can think about, and I really am happy to share my experience. I'll go through the conclusions, and if there's, I have a few backup slides, and then I can do a breathing demonstration briefly, and depends on how fast I go, although I'm already going a little bit slow. I can do this Q&A as long as you guys like. Okay, so a positive mindset is loving yourself and caring for others. I took this class from this fella named Harville Hendricks back in November, and it really changed my life, actually. I think it really helped me realize how to bring intentional kindness, intentional safety to build a safe place for communication with, especially with my partner. You know, I took this class with my partner, and he said, and I would encourage you to read this book called Getting the Love You Want. It says that every relationship is built on this foundation of safety. So then on top of that safety, once you have that safety, you can connect to other people. And then on top of that, you can build joyful aliveness. You can bring joy into your life by having that safety and then that building connections with people. So, this is kind of I don't want this to be this is a really important part of the talk, but this is it. Love yourself. That's really important. And I think having a positive mindset and loving yourself can really help you with your health mission. Love yourself and take time to exercise, take time to meditate, take time to eat in a healthy way. You're worth it. You're really worth investing in. So, there's the colors of the different elements for the fireworks. Okay, so this is kind of a reprise. I have a YouTube video of what I gave back a couple years ago. How to Feed the Beast was the name of that one. And I was really inspired by the book by Dr. Fung and his blog before he wrote the book. And really, eat at a low meal frequency to be insulin sensitive. So I really think that the eat at a high meal frequency, eat lots of small meals, is actually detrimental to health. So low meal frequency and fasting have vast benefits to the body. I don't want to make this just about fasting, so I'm going to try to go relatively quick, but I did want to revisit this topic. Primary change to body from fasting is improved insulin sensitivity. So that means that if you eat at a low meal frequency, when you do eat, your body can store the energy and process the energy in a safe way for your body. If you eat all the time, then you risk your body's system, especially your fat cells, from becoming overloaded. And if you have overloaded fat cells, then there's nowhere for the fat to go but into your blood, and you end up with this hyperlipidemia and the morbidity, ultimately type 2 diabetes or other risks. Fasting also improves and increases BDNF, which is this brain-derived neurotropic factor. So this is a hormone your body makes in response to this calorie deficit, this intermittent calorie deficit, that improves your thinking and your brain, how your brain actually works. And so if you meditate and fast, ask a monk if he should do that. He says, yes, that helps me fast. That helps me meditate. That helps me do this deep thinking. I said in this talk at 8:14 seconds, I want to be the monk of IC. So I want to meditate and work really intensely on making chips. Okay, that's pretty nerdy. Yep. You might think that, and that's definitely maybe uncertain, with some uncertainty, right? If it's not, what is not surrounded by uncertainty cannot be the truth, but high meal frequency for diabetics is a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. So, absolutely not is my answer. So if you're type 2 diabetic, you're already sick, you should immediately stop eating carbs and eat at a low meal frequency, in my opinion. Low carbohydrate intake frequency. So, this is kind of the same thing. Low meal frequency, really what we're trying to do is lower insulin in the body. It is a good question, and I think the conventional wisdom is completely backwards and wrong. So I appreciate the question, and I'd encourage you to ask me or let's have a conversation about what, is this message that I'm showing here correct? Is Jason Fung correct? Is a great question, right? Like I said, I still have some uncertainty, but it's incredibly small uncertainty, actually. So, great question. What I do is I eat carbs once a day maximum, right? I am at a healthy weight, and but if you do have type 2 diabetes or Alzheimer's, if you already have these energy crisis in the body or the brain, you've got to stop eating carbs right away, in my opinion. Okay, and maybe never, yeah, so eat carbs, maybe never. If you're super fit with the intention of building muscle, so when you do eat carbs, you increase insulin, which is an anabolic hormone. It increases the building part of the muscle. So again, why is all this focus on insulin is because insulin suppresses autophagy. So I say that to people and their eyes kind of roll back into their head. But what it means is you're either building your muscles, you're building protein in your body, or you're repairing protein in your body. And if you eat at a high meal frequency, insulin never gets low and you never repair the proteins in your body. And you get inflammation and you get insulin resistant, because if you have high insulin all the time, and I think I have, this might be the next slide. Yeah. High meal frequency causes insulin resistance and obesity. So the cause of type 2 diabetes is high meal frequency. It is high carbohydrate consumption. So if you eat a high frequency meal, you have high insulin in the blood. If you have a high insulin over time, your body says, well, we have all this insulin all the time. We need to turn down the gain, be less sensitive to insulin. And eventually your pancreas can't keep up and you get type 2 diabetes. So then you're insulin resistant and you have high blood sugar, which leads back to high, you keep your insulin high all the time. And if you have this high blood sugar and this insulin resistance, you end up with obesity. So but wait a second, why am I eating all these high frequency meals? Why am I doing that, right? And the answer is we're programmed to like sugar, right? I mean, your body runs on sugar. Your brain demands glucose. If you don't have glucose in your brain, you'll die, right? 25% of your energy of your brain has to come from glucose. Even if you haven't eaten carbs in a month, then your body can make glucose via glyconeogenesis in your liver to provide the brain with the required, and the red blood cells actually also don't have mitochondria in them, so they need glucose in the blood to operate. So yeah, don't do that. So here's a little history. This is not exactly real data, but it's approximately correct, going back a couple of years, and my weight was drifting up, and it would have really been bad if I would have kept going like this. And my dad kind of went on that path, and since then he's repaired his insulin sensitivity and is doing good, and he fasts too. But starting here in January of 2016, I started the intermittent energy restrictive diet, and I lost 40 pounds approximately. And since then, I bounced around a little bit, and mass isn't really a very good indicator, right? I think lazy doctors blame fat people for poor health, and that's also wrong. This is missing the point of the real problem is insulin resistance, if that is the problem of obesity. So I'd refer you to this book by Ted Naiman, what causes this energy toxicity, and this is basically the same thing. If you dilute nutrients, why do you eat, right? You need minerals and you need protein and you need energy. And if you eat only energy with no protein, then that's over here. This is a low, high energy but low protein. So he has this protein to any energy ratio way of thinking. And he also, of course, suggests the time-restricted feeding or the intermittent energy restriction. So I have another couple of, but why? What is the physiology? How did this happen? Why is it that insulin resistance even occurs in humans? And it's clear, right? You got to survive a famine, right? There didn't used to be a fridge. So this survival of people who can become insulin resistant in the summer and get extra food, store it away in their bodies, survive all winter, they survived, right? It's embedded in your genes that you have this ability to become insulin resistant to store energy, right? But now we have a very different food environment than our genes came about. So, if you want to cross the Pacific, I got a nice little picture of Maui here. I think he could make it for a while out on a boat. Probably longer than me. But, there's a Five Guys down the street, and I'm going to go eat a burger tomorrow. So I'm okay with slightly less fat stores in my body. I still think I could, I have enough fat stores to run a couple 100 kilometers, no problem with fasting, and I do that actually, maybe not hundreds, but. So here's some more clips of this book, Maximize Satiety. So eat food in a way that's going to make you full for a long time. So eat enough food and eat fatty meat. That's my opinion. That's the healthiest thing to eat. And eat that, and then don't eat for a long time. And if you do that, you will become more insulin sensitive over time, and your health will improve. Eat to maximize fat adaptation. Eat in the 8-hour eating window. Eat carbs at most once a day. Maximize lean mass. This is exercise. So, and there's, I follow these different folks on Twitter, and they fight with each other. Saturated fat is fine, or saturated fat is really bad. And really, they're both kind of missing the point that if you cannot process energy in your body, if you become, metabolically sick, like with type 2 or type 3 diabetes, dementia driven by energy crisis in the brain, then that's bad. Don't do that. And how do you fix it? Low carb frequency. That's really the answer. Okay. Personal fat threshold. Yeah, so everyone's different, right? If you can make new fat cells, then they don't get overloaded. So some people can just eat and get fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter, and they can be actually relatively metabolically okay if you can keep making new fat cells. And there's some people that have this, I think it's called hypertrophy or something, where they can't make new fat cells, and they end up looking skinny, but their organs are packed with visceral fat, and they can't actually, they're very, very metabolically sick. So, I try to say there's this large variance of personal fat threshold. If this is, person 1 might be starting getting sick at this body mass index, but this other person can go to a much higher body mass index and be fine. So, this is maybe fasting glucose isn't the perfect one, but this body mass index thing doesn't work, right? It's really how do your body respond to insulin or respond to nutrients when you take them in. So what are the indicators for insulin resistance? Can you easily fast for 18 hours? If you could say, yeah, I'll eat tomorrow, then that's a great sign, right? So, if you can do that, you may be insulin resistant. You should think about that. Are you obese and have a large waist circumference, right? Is your weight drifting up over time? If you add, 2 kilos per year or 5 kilos per year to your body mass, watch out, right? You may be on a path that's very unhealthy for your heart. Do you have skin issues in the table, right? And so there's an article I'll link to on this slide, but skin tags or this acanthosis nigrans, where you get these in the folds on in your skin, they get this black bumpy skin. You have acne or psoriasis. I used to have these bumps on the back of my arms, and they went away when I started fasting. So if you're hungry even after a meal, you might be leptin resistant. So these fat cells in your body, that when the insulin comes into the cell, it pushes the energy into the fat cell for storage, and then they release leptin. But if you become leptin resistant, and leptin suppresses appetite, so if you become leptin resistant, you can never know when you're hungry anymore. So by slowing down your meal frequency, you can become more leptin sensitive and then know when you're hungry or when you're full. Okay, excess lipids in the blood, the triglyceride to HDL ratio. So here's some more comments on that. Okay, so cancer is also in this same bucket. So I have a slide at the end where I kind of say pretty much all the chronic disease in the world is driven by this insulin resistance mechanism, in my opinion. So chronic hypoxia and dysfunctional adipose combined with inflammation, that is lack of autophagy, lack of repair, is a significant risk for cancer. So there's lots of articles here. So fat is good for you. Get good at metabolizing your fat. So how do you do that? It's really interesting to me that the original hypothesis of eating fat puts lipids in your blood. It's actually subtly wrong. If you eat at high meal frequency with fat and with carbs, and your fat cells become overloaded, then yeah, that's a problem. And then eating more fat is worse. But really, eating a high-fat diet is okay. It can actually give you the ability to improve your fat metabolism. So the true cause of hyperlipidemia is energy toxicity from eating too much too often. So recently I hiked 20 miles at 9,000 feet and I fasted the whole day, right? So I can easily go all day. I've got enough fat in my body, I'm still about 10 or 15% body fat. I can easily go 2 days without fasting. Whenever I travel internationally, I never eat, right? Until I'm there or I'm with the people that I want to be with. Yeah, hungry's fine. So, and again, that earlier question of can you fast 18 hours? If you eat a little bit of salt, and I'm about to get to salt, I think, and you stay well hydrated, and you have a positive mindset, you can easily fast. Simon van Gort, my buddy, said, oh yeah, you should put the slide in there about the guy who fasted for 350 days, It's possible. Your body, every one of your ancestors survived, Intense hiking like this possible due to fat mobilization. So ketogenic diet. So if you eat like this, and I don't always eat like this, so this is a typical week for me. On Monday I have my first meal of the day in the evening, so a little red dot means a meal. Maybe these yellow dots are snacks. And then on Thursday I have another fasting day, but between Monday and Thursday I often won't eat any carbs the whole week, or almost none, right? Less than 5% of your calories from carbs is called a ketogenic diet. Extremely healthy. And if you're metabolically sick, you need to consider fasting and going on a ketogenic diet like this. So fat types, reduce consumption of omega-6 fatty acids from seed oils. So the saturated fats, relatively healthy. Seed oils, minimize. Trans fats, never. Here you go. This is a short chain fatty acid. Here's some different types of fat sources, and I put these little red exclamation points on these high omega-6 fatty acids, and those again cause these inflammatory cytokines in your body. They promote inflammation in your body and are unhealthy. This lactic acid, this is toxic, right? I don't know if I didn't. Even bugs and bacteria don't eat trans fat. Do not eat it. This is again, never. It's got a great shelf life though. Okay, so drink lots of water and eat salt and minerals. Again, hey, wait a second, I thought you said we're supposed to have low salt. Come back to me, read this book, let me know what you think. I think, and actually there's a strong interaction with these keto diets and fasting. If you feel like crap and you fast for 8 hours, you just might be out of salt. Your brain and your body run on pumping sodium and potassium and calcium in and out of your neurons, right? Your body is based on salt, and your body can easily excrete it, and having a lower residence time of salt in your body by drinking lots of water and eating lots of salt is actually good for you, in my opinion. So, and watch out for orthostatic hypotension. So if you have low blood pressure when you stand up, whoa, I feel dizzy. Watch out, you may be low on minerals. Okay, cold exposure. So this guy, Scott Carney, was an investigative journalist, and he heard about Wim Hof, and he said, that doesn't make any sense, that's crazy, can't be true. And then he went and met Wim, and they did some stuff, and he wrote a book about it. And he was like, yeah, it's really amazing. And I want some healthy skepticism here, but I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. Cold exposure aids in circulation and stimulates brown fat production. So this changes the morphology of your fat cells. It reduces their size. It increases vascularization. There's more mitochondria in your fat. And those mitochondria allow you to then use your fat cells to make heat, which you do when you expose yourself to cold. So this brown adipose tissue is highly vascularized, it's mitochondria rich, and it can turn on fat oxidation for thermogenesis. And increased brown adipose tissue makes your body more insulin sensitive. And I just ranted about insulin sensitivity for 20 minutes. So I actually find that this routine cold exposure improves my mood too. So I really like it's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to take that cold shower. And then I take it and I'm like, man, I feel great. That was so great. I'm so glad I took that cold shower. So yeah, proven to improve insulin sensitivity. There's probably 20 references on that one, but I just put one. Okay, so cold is kind of brief, but I kind of bucket it right adjacent to the insulin, but I think that's really only part of the story. The improved circulation, and your body has a lot of hormonal responses to cold exposure, and like I said, it strongly influences my mood and mindset. So I don't know. Give this a go. Think about this some more. Pick up the book from Scott. Okay. Hypoxia-inducible factor. So when cells are denied oxygen, they undergo this gene expression. They change, and they stimulate the body's response to increase the oxygen carrying capacity by increased erythropoietin. So you basically increase the amount of oxygen carrying capacity in your body by intermittently exposing yourself to hypoxia. And if you do this all night, every night, because of sleep apnea or something like that, it's really unhealthy. You do not want to, you can, if you hold your breath for 20 minutes, you're dead, right? Don't do that. This therapeutic benefit, this very small amount of, this small dose of hypoxia, I put 100 seconds here, that's kind of what I do about 5 or 10 times a day. And it's fabulous. And the unexpected benefits of intermittent hypoxia, there's a journal article on it. And I had been doing this for 2 years, and then in 2019, these guys won the Nobel Prize for understanding how HIF, this hypoxia-inducible factor, in this hypoxic condition interacts and causes you to make more blood-carrying capability. Go ahead.
Is it as simple as holding your breath, or what are you doing to go hypoxic?
So there's this intentional breathing technique to stimulate the hypoxia-inducible factor in your body. So I began doing this Wim Hof breathing in 2017, and I feel tougher. I've improved my altitude performance and my mindset. So how do you do it? So I bought this photoplethysmographer machine. So it shines light into my finger and measures if my blood is blue or if it's red. So start slow, be kind to yourself, have this positive mindset. And I hyperventilate, which depletes my body of CO2 for about a minute. And then exhale completely, hold my breath with no air. After 20 seconds, my blood's purple, and by 120 seconds, it's blue. I have deeply gone into a hypoxic state. Guess what? Your body's releasing hormones at that time that says, time to breathe, you better breathe now. And have a positive mindset, be intentional about it. Don't go to 5 minutes. You don't want to cause brain damage, but going to 100 seconds is definitely fine. And then I take a big breath. And recently, I've been doing this optional exercise in cold exposure to increase the oxygen consumption rate and bring you into a deeper hypoxic state during the breathing. Then breathe in. Guess what? I got it, right? I got my oxygen. Wait another 20 seconds, take a few normal breaths, and go back. So, I bought this little machine. Whoops. Yeah, I bought this machine, and it measures my heart rate and the blood oxygen saturation. So I'm hyperventilating during this time, and you can see the heart rate is high. I stop breathing, I let out my air, and the heart rate drops. Eventually, the O2 saturation drops. I'm dying for a breath, taking that breath. And in this time, you can see I actually held that breath in long enough that I started to go hypoxic again just a little bit before I took in another breath. So that was during this time here, this 40 seconds. I got that little second dip in your blood oxygen saturation. So yeah, my font's my blood color there. How does this thing work? This pulse oximetry monitoring, it shines light into your skin, and here's the 2 different spectra of hemoglobin. So whether or not it's oxygenated, it changes from blue to red, right? And the sensor can see it. It's a big market, actually. Okay. Right? Is low. I did a zoom in on it here. So this time, hyperventilate. Then exhale. Then hold. Drops off a cliff. I breathe. Boom. Right away. Back up. Then I hold a little bit more with my air. Drop a little bit. Breathe again. That's one cycle. Correct. Yeah. So I'm hyperventilating for about, I'll demo it in a second. But yes, it's not in a second, in whatever, whenever you want, 20 minutes. So yeah, so this is about a minute. This is about 3 minutes, maybe a little bit less. Yeah. I'll do a demo at the end. So I do 3 cycles of this, and you could see this was 6 a.m. This is 6:42 a.m. I do this every morning. Okay. So, and then this doctor said, okay, here's a normal, and again, the hyperventilation condition, pH is going up. The partial pressure of oxygen, doesn't go up, or doesn't go up much, right? Your oxygen's basically saturated during normal condition, but the CO2 concentration goes down a lot. And what this does is actually it bonds the hemoglobin more tightly to the O2. So the hemoglobin doesn't want to let go in that higher pH condition. And so that's why if you hyperventilate, you'll get woozy. But you're stimulating your hormone production for EPO, you're stimulating mild hypoxia, both on the hyperventilation phase, which isn't measured by the photoplasmography, and during the breath hold phase.
You stimulate which hormone?
The HIF, the hypoxia-inducible factor. It's not a great name, but these guys got the Nobel Prize for it in 2019. Ratcliffe, Smith, Simmons, and Kalin. Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I saw this come out with the Nobel Prize, and I was like, wow, I've been doing that for a couple years. This is great. And I think Hof was really on the right track. So HIF explains why Hof was right. Okay. So, yeah. So advanced. So during your breath hold, add push-ups or sit-ups. Don't do this if you could fall or hit your head, right? If you're learning how to do this, don't do it when you're standing up. I don't want you to bonk your head, right? Don't do it in a lake. Okay? Beginner, just breathe. You're going to do great. Meditate. Take 100 seconds to do deep and intentional breathing. Intermediate, hyperventilate. Do Wim Hof breathing. Advanced, Wim Hof breathing with 10 push-ups during the retention. I could do 1 push-up. I can easily do 15 push-ups now. I don't know, I'm changing. I feel tougher. I feel really, really good about the way my body's responding to this treatment. I can't do 20 push-ups yet. Do slow and perfect form push-ups, right? You're not trying to count and don't do 180-second retention, right? Don't do breath work in a pool or the ocean. Okay. So, Wim Hof, aka the Iceman, suggests to have a positive mindset. Build strength, endurance, and intensity with these breathing exercises. Build strength and immunity with the ice baths and the cold exposure. And he has these very broad claims of health, control over the autonomous nervous system. I'm not sure if you're really controlling it because I'm stimulating it with intention, but it's still off on its own, right? There's 100 controllers in your body that they're just doing what they're doing, right? You don't really get to choose, but it really works. This was really surprising. So one more is this Katsu, where you partially occlude the venous return. And there's a bunch of articles about this. My mom has been playing with it. Here's a picture of her. I haven't done this much, but you do this localized blood flow restriction during your workout, and the slow twitch muscles are pushed to failure. So it's like having a more intense workout. And there's a strong cross-training effect. Once you do that workout in your arm, the circulatory system moves the chemicals, the hormones that your body made from that intermittent hypoxia all over your body, and everything in your body gets stronger. And you can do these workouts and pushing yourself to failure with a 30% of your 1 rep max, right? So if you can bench 100 pounds, you can do a 30-pound bench and have it still work, or maybe curls or whatever, right? So you don't have to push yourself as hard to stimulate failure by going to this mild hypoxic condition in the body. And this is really important, and there's a lot of research around this now where people who are frail, they're not strong enough, they're old, and they have this hypertrophy or like muscle loss, which is really bad when you're getting older. If you're losing muscle and muscle over time, you're frail, and that's bad. So you can avoid having to do this really intense resistance training and do this less intense resistance training by doing the blood flow occlusion. So, summary of recommendations. Have a positive mindset. Be kind to yourself, right? That's the top recommendation. Hypoxia, beginner is breathe, intermediate, hyperventilate, and I guess I dropped the Wim Hof. Do push-ups during retention, or do 20 push-ups. Good luck with that. Let me know if anyone can do 20 push-ups during a breath hold. I'll see how many I can do here in a second. Autophagy, so fast for 12 hours. So if you're getting started with fasting, see if you can do a 12-hour fast. If you can't, see the prior comment about the insulin resistance. Intermediate, fast for 18 hours. Advanced, fast for 24 to 36. I don't do a lot more than 36. I've done some 48s. Like I said, there's a guy who did hundreds of days. And if you've got a long ways to go, like if you're off your goal weight, maybe you could be considering fasting longer. I'm not sure. If you're metabolically healthy, but you're above your goal weight, maybe that's fine, right? I think, again, being metabolically healthy is the goal, not weight. I don't care as much about how I look. What? Do you include the nighttime? Yes. Luckily, yes. Yeah. So 18 means you skip breakfast. 24 hours means you skip breakfast and lunch. 36 hours means you eat on Tuesday. When you ate on Sunday and you eat on Tuesday. So my normal thing is I don't want to disrupt the time with my family. So I will eat on Sunday night, and then I'll eat on Monday night on a fasting day. So Mondays and Thursdays are my fasting day, and my kids don't care if I don't eat lunch at work, right? It has no impact on them. Okay. Autophagy, cold exposure, do the 30 to 90 seconds cold at the end of your shower. That's kind of the beginner. See how that goes. Pure cold showers, this is kind of where I'm at, and I have not done any 5C ice baths, but I think they really could be good for you. And I'm thinking about buying a house this year, and I really am excited about that. I'm going to get a chest freezer and fill it up with cold water, and I'll jump in there once a day. Yeah, don't do it sub-zero, right? Don't get yourself frostbite. Exercise, walk. This is beginner. Go for 5x 30-second sprints. Push yourself to intense exercise. And I think the intensity of the exercise is actually crucial to having effective exercise. Fasting and combined sprints. I'm kind of an expert here, and in the autophagy, I'm getting there on hypoxia. So, build body strength, mental resilience with knowledge, we understand, and mindset, meditation. And, this positive mindset enables you to withstand this seemingly denial, but it's not. I don't feel like I'm denying myself. I'm giving myself the opportunity to get tough when I expose myself to cold. And, this healthy diet and meal frequency is also enabled by a positive mindset. I'm doing the right thing to care for my body. So the positive mindset enables this exercise, and then I've got my top goals at the bottom here, right? I want metabolism and circulatory health, and I want muscle and skeletal system health. So, positive mindset, I'm saying the same thing. That's my talk. Yeah. Okay, so you guys want to see, or you want to have questions first?
Where do you draw the line on your fasting? Is it water and tea, or?
Great question. So if you're getting started on fasting, then you can even have a little bit of fat, and it'll help you have the mindset to make it. So when I was first starting, and I still do coffee with cream, or half and half in it. And then when I was starting, I also did bulletproof coffee, which is butter and MCT oil or coconut oil mixed in the coffee. You blend it up, it makes this frothy thing, and it's got, I don't know, 30, 40 grams of fat in there. You know, that the coffee has the caffeine, which helps you, it pushes glycogen out of your body, which is good. And that fat makes you say, okay, yeah, I can make it. But there's very little insulin response. So you're kind of priming yourself to be more insulin sensitive by having that little cheat fat meal at the start of the day. But yeah, water, coffee, a little bit of fat. I call that a fast still. But, you know, juice fast or whatever, that's not a fast. So I don't buy any of that stuff at all. Yeah, be kind to yourself and understand the chemistry and physiology of the body to thrive. So yeah, so let's do a quick demo here. Normally, I guess I do it on a yoga mat or on something softer than this, but I don't know. I guess I'm just going to do it. So I do about 20 or 30 deep breaths when I'm on my knees, like this, and then I'll do the push-ups for you because that's kind of the level that I'm at, but don't feel like you have to do that to start. It's going to take a minute. I'm not going to say anything. I hope that, I don't know, I feel a little bit weird with the demo, but like, you know, I don't know if chanting is appropriate or not, but maybe just, I normally do combine it with meditation. So it is kind of meditative, and I've never shared it in a public setting. So be patient with me, and please be kind to me. And I'm going to have that positive mindset too.
Should we try and follow along with your breath holding?
If you like. I mean, if you're standing up, please don't. But if you're seated, then feel free to hyperventilate with me and see how your body feels. And if you have an intense desire to breathe in, guess what? I really want to encourage you to breathe in. So here goes. That's it. I normally would have held that breath a little longer, but I decided to stand up for the applause, you know? So, yeah, is there any other questions? Or, yeah, my acknowledgments for Jason Fung Inspire. Give me a minute. It's part of a workout, right? Yeah, my mom for listening to me rant and giving me space to love myself. My wonderful partner Heather for encouraging me and helping me find joyful aliveness. And thanks to my friend Simon for many discussions on this topic. He even has a version of this talk in Dutch. So if you want to share this with your buddies, I talked to him. He said, I could never fast. And then 6 months later, he's like, so I lost 8 kilos. So he's my buddy. Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Yeah, I can share, yeah. Or I think we'll post the video, and I'll try to, I'll put the slides at least on the Confluence page that I have, my Shrink on Confluence page, but I can mail it out too. Yeah.
How many books do you think you've read on health? And how many times do you get partway into a book and it contradicts everything you believe in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I've read 3 books. Jason Fung's recently, this PE diet one. And I follow a lot of vegans who think that saturated fat is bad on Twitter. And so I do try to read. I really want to understand the potential for bias. But I'm uncertain if what I said here is all right, but it might be. I have a relatively low uncertainty. But yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend these books. I haven't actually read Scott Carney's book, but I've learned about it, and I read some reviews of it and stuff, so I feel okay recommending it.
How often did you say you do breathing per day?
Every morning, so I do at least 3 cycles like that in the morning. Yeah, that's about. I haven't done it more. Some people I've read about say they do it in the evening too, but yeah, at least once a day.
Do you box breathing too?
I haven't done box breathing, or maybe I don't know what it is.
So you take a 4-second inhalation, 4-second hold, 4-second exhalation, and 4-second hold.
Sounds great. Yeah, I mean.
But it's different from this.
Sure, it is different. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're, especially when I do my cold shower, I find myself not hyperventilating, but doing really intense breathing. But no, I haven't played directly with box breathing. I'm not sure if it's better or worse. I mean,
But it's a different purpose. So I just
yeah.
it's more meditative.
Uh-huh.
Andrew Lau in spontaneous healing, he also introduces the breathing, and the way to get rid of the CO2,
Right.
more than you take in, is breathing for like 5 seconds, 5 counts, but then hold it for 6 counts, and then breathe out for 7 counts.
Uh-huh.
Instead of more than breathing in, you're breathing out more. So there's more chance of getting rid of CO2. The next breathing, you will increase longer, and breathing out also longer. So that way you also kind of enhance the capacity of your lung as well.
Yeah, I should have put a size of the alveoli. They're pretty darn small, and the diffusivity in gases is high. I think the amount of time it takes to reach equilibrium in your alveoli is pretty short. So when I'm doing my hyperventilation to deplete my body of CO2, I can breathe in 1 second and breathe out in 1 second or less. And I think that's okay. I think you really are rapidly changing the pH of your blood at that point. You're up, right? The pH is going up. But I encourage all different types of intentional breathing. Really, I think if you're really focusing on your body and listening to it, that's great, no matter what you're doing, right? So, hey, that was fun. Okay. Any more questions?
So when you get up, like all of a sudden you feel dizziness, and you
Right.
think it may be due to the
Lack of salt.
yeah. And have you had that kind of phenomenal during your exercise?
No, I have always been like, oh, I want salt and crave it. And I was always kind of skeptical of the denial of my body as something I really wanted. So I've never experienced that orthostatic hypotension, low blood pressure. When you move your bones, that's not good. But I've never experienced it. I think it's common from the poor recommendation of low salt, in my opinion. But I've never experienced it.
I think also for the salt, instead of just buying those iodized salt, there are Himalayan
Yeah.
salt.
Yeah, I use that.
Are really natural, that has a lot of minerals and just plain white.
Yeah, I definitely do eat the pink Himalayan salt. And then in meat, there's a lot of healthy minerals, right? I'm made out of meat. That's what I need to eat, in my opinion, to be healthiest. So I think that there are vegetarian diets, or there's lots of diverse diets that are possibly healthy. But I really think that the satiety I get from meat and the protein breakdown, the fatty acid breakdown of meat is pretty much the healthiest.
So you talked about the benefits of cold exposure. How about heat exposure?
Yeah, I didn't research it. Maybe I should have. You know, I love going in the sauna and then jumping in the cold plunge and going back in the sauna or whatever. I think it's probably really good for your circulation and, you know, the vascularization of your skin going through its different things. You know, expanding the capillaries in your body and then contracting them down. So it seems good to me, and it feels great.
I think also the key is alternating between hot and cold, because your body will, first of all, grow your own immune system, exposed to hot, and then gradually going to cold, and that, in a seasonal changes when there is a fluctuation of temperature, your body, by alternating into hot, cold, that helps a lot also during this change of season. And for the cold shower, one easy way to get into the cold shower is while you're taking shower, gradually raise the temperature of the water until it's quite hot. When you cannot take it, gradually turn it down to cold, and then until it's too cold, you cannot take it, gradually raise it up and down. That really helps the body to adjust to hot and cold.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I think going back and forth, you know, you've got your own spa right there, right? I find myself now, I turn on the water, pure cold, I get in it, I sit there, I let it run down my back, I shave, I'm completely fine. So it's not cold enough. But then I go to Holland in the winter, and man, the water is cold there. It's great. Or Japan had really cold water when I was there 2 years ago.
People who are diving in cold water, they seldom catch cold or flu.
Yeah, I think it really is good for your immune system. Yeah, your immune system response to that cold exposure is very positive, in my opinion. Yeah.
So which one of these things is the most important? I can only manage to do it one. Which one should I do?
Positive mindset. Yeah, love yourself. I think that's number one. But if we're talking about health, it's the insulin, definitely, for sure. It's such a trump card. I think a lot of the mistakes or confusion we have about what is actually healthy around diet is because we don't control for this energy toxicity, this insulin resistance well. Once you get that one nailed, everything else might be noise, in my opinion. The positive mindset, though, shouldn't be underestimated. Okay, any more questions? So yeah, I'll share the slides, and hopefully we'll get the video out on MS Stream. But we had a nice audience, and I thank you guys very much for your attention today.